you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. LaBita.tb. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, on this Wednesday, January 17. The Montreal Canadiens go into Jersey and beat the New Jersey Devils. That's right, they beat the New Jersey Devils. 2 games and 2 nights for the Montreal Canadiens. Tonight in Jersey. Tomorrow night, they're going to be in Ottawa. It'll actually be 3 and 4 on Saturday night. They're going to be in Boston. This is the way you want to start a road trip, with a big, big win. There was a blown lead at one point, but who cares? That's what happens with teams that are rebuilding. Every now and then, they're going to let a 2-goal lead evaporate for the 10th time this season. But the character is when you're able to bounce back, get that next goal, and get the win. And the good news, even better news, is when it's your goal scorer, the guy that you want scoring the big goals, because the more he scores, the more confidence he gets. The more confidence he gets, the more he's going to end up scoring, the better he's going to end up playing, the better he's going to feel about himself. At one point, he was not on a very good pace. I'm talking about Cole Caulfield. But Caulfield, in his last 4 games now, has 3 goals, 3 assists. And are you ready for the stat of the night? Guess where Cole Caulfield ranks in terms of game-winning goals in the National Hockey League thus far this season? After everything we said and we heard about him, he's slumping, he's this, he's that, he's streaky. Third in the National Hockey League for game-winning goals for Cole Caulfield. That's good news for him. Other good news for Joshua Roy. He scores his first National Hockey League goal. Good news for Sean Monahan, whether he's staying with the Montreal Canadiens or they're going to trade him. It's good news because Sean Monahan had a great game tonight, picking up 2 assists. Other good news, Samuel Montembeault continues to impress. He who signed a contract extension, a 3-year, $3.15 million per season. Boy, oh boy, is that looking like a bargain of a contract right now. Montembeault doing what he's been doing over the last couple of weeks, especially he's winning hockey games. Your first pick overall in the draft, Juraj Slafkovsky, how's he doing? In the battle of Juraj Slafkovsky versus Simon Nemec tonight, the 2 Slovaks who went 1-2 in the draft a couple of years ago. Slafkovsky scores early on in the hockey game on assist by Cole Caulfield. And by the way, the sign of a good player, what you want on your hockey team is a player who picks up as many points on the road as he does at home, and that is Juraj Slafkovsky. It is the Sick Podcast. I am Tony Marinaro. I am Tony Marinaro. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. That's where I get my energy from. A leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. We're talking transport here. They are driven to be different. Also, by these guys right here, brewed in Quebec and a winner of a dozen international awards. I'm talking to you about LaBita.tb, who offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. Also brought to you in part by Playground. Discover a world of luxury at Playground. Explore their new 30,000 square foot expansion with thrilling games, gourmet dining, and live entertainment located just over the Mercier Bridge. Only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground. Experience the Strip without the trip. And of course, also brought to you by Accent Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. I've been telling you that. You know where to find the right solution for you? Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product, right on the money. Whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. It's funny when I see Accent's phone number, I always think of my buddy Sergio Momesso because their number is 514-363 36-36. Craig Button, TSN's director of scouting, should be joining us any minute now. I'm waiting for him to log on, and we will get to Craig. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. The last time I spoke with him was before the World Junior Tournament, of course, which took place in Sweden. He made his way there. And when I asked him prior to leaving, I said, Craig, who do you like in this tournament? He said, Tony, I like Sweden and USA. Ultimately, I like USA. And I said, who do you think is going to be the player of the tournament? And he said, I think it could be Cutter Gauthier of Team USA, who in the end was not the player of the tournament. The player of the tournament was a Swede who scores a lot of goals. A great draft pick, by the way, by the Vancouver Canucks, who I believe ended up getting him at 15 overall in the draft year. A lot of people were saying this guy is probably the best pure goal scorer in the draft. They were saying that. And you know what? For whatever reason, he ended up sliding to 15th overall. And of course, I'm talking to you about Jonathan Lekkerimäki. He was voted the MVP of the World Junior Championships. He scored 7 goals in 7 games for Sweden. And once again, he went 15th overall in the 2022 NHL entry draft. He was picked up by the Vancouver Canucks. But Cutter Gauthier was on the all-tournament all-star team, as was Montreal Canadiens prospect Lane Hudson. There's so much to talk to you about. Without further ado, TSN analyst and director of scouting, Craig Button. How are you?
I am good. Sorry, I was having a little trouble signing in here, so I apologize.
Don't worry about it. Don't be sorry.
Well, I do worry about it, though, Tony. I don't want to leave anybody waiting, especially you. So, I mean, nice game for the Habs tonight. How about Joshua Waugh getting his first NHL goal? That was nice.
Yeah, that was very nice. I have to tell you, it seems like every night we talk about, should the Montreal Canadiens hold on to Sean Monahan? When they acquired him from the Calgary Flames, the original plan, which this has turned out to be a duo of Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes that usually sticks to their plan and do not deviate from their plan. The plan was we go out, we get Sean Monahan. He's got 1 year left on his deal. They also picked up a first-round draft pick for Monahan. The reason being Calgary wanted to part ways with the contract. And the plan was, the Canadiens will trade him at the deadline. But unfortunately for Monahan, he goes down with an injury at the 25-game mark. He had picked up 17 points during that span. The Canadiens sat down with him at the end of the season. They said, listen, you're not going to get the 4 or 5 year deal from any team because you were hurt and you've been hurt for the last couple of years. You did well with us. You liked us. We liked you. Why don't we give her one more crack? You're healthy now. Sign a deal with us. They signed them for under $2 million. And if you do well, you know what? At the deadline, we're going to try and accomplish what we tried to accomplish before. And who knows? You know what? Maybe there could be a change of heart. Maybe we make you an offer ourselves. And that's where we're at right now. And, Sean Monahan plays a great game. He picks up 2 assists. He gets the assist on the Joshua Roy goal. He gets the assist on Cole Caulfield's game-winning goal. And now we're saying, okay, the original plan was to trade him. But then again, you take a look at so many teams in the National Hockey League that went through a rebuild who did not have enough veterans in their lineup to show the kids the way. They're paying the price. Jacques Martin a couple of days ago said, I wish we had more veterans on this team. I have Claude Giroux, and he's doing a great job. I just wish we had more. Your thoughts?
I couldn't agree with Jacques more. And, Sean Monahan played his junior hockey with the Ottawa 67s. Maybe that's a player that the Ottawa 67s will be looking to sign in the summer. I think for the Montreal Canadiens right now, it's about what's the return? The Montreal Canadiens are on pace to have a better than 500 record. We've already talked about it, Tony, what a significant progression that would be for the organization from last year to this year. They're young players. I may have told you this story, and but I think it bears repeating. I was in Calgary as the manager in 2001, and Lou Lamoriello was with New Jersey, and he phoned me. We had Tommy Abilene, a really good veteran defenseman and just a quality person, coaching Switzerland now at the World Junior Tournament the last number of years. Lou phoned me and he asked me about would I be interested in trading Tommy Abilene. And, I basically told Lou, I said, listen, unless there's something really significant coming my way, there's just no way I'm going to do that. Lou was great. He always is. So he goes, tell me what your thinking is. I said, we have Tony Ludman, we have Denny Gauthier, we have Derek Morris, and we have Robin Revere. I said, I have 4 young defensemen. I believe we had 17 games left the rest of the year. I said, that's 68 games total. When you multiply 17 times 4, Tommy is so instrumental to our young group and what we're trying to grow here. He goes, we want to take this team and help it be better. And I think these 17 games with more experience. And Lou says to me, he goes, okay, I can accept that. That's fair. He goes, if something changes, let me know. I went and talked to Tommy. I let Tommy know because he'd won a Stanley Cup with the New Jersey Devils in 1995. So, and actually Tommy's wife's sister was living in New Jersey. I went to Tommy. I told him what I was thinking and told him what I told Lou. And I said, if you change your mind or you'd like to, let me know. I said, I'll work something out here for you, even though I want him. Here's my rationale. He goes, no, Greg, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help those young defensemen. We're very happy here. I like, unless it's something that you think helps the team, he goes, I'm happy to stay here. And I think that's where Montreal finds themselves with Sean Monahan. You don't want to limp into your last 20 games or so and then the proverbial throw the young kids into the deep end. I don't think that helps you grow, because next year is another opportunity for Montreal to take steps forward.
I hear you. Why don't we do this? Why don't we bring up the lineup for both teams in tonight's hockey game? Agnello, Sammy, and Juliana at Master Control. Why don't you do that for me right now? All right, so there you have it. The Montreal Canadiens, Suzuki centering, Slavkovsky on his right and Caulfield on his left. And, of course, we've seen this now for about a month, both wingers playing the off wing. Evans centering Gallagher on his right and Rafael Harvey-Pinard on the left. Sean Monahan with Armia on the right and Joshua Roy on the left. Stevens centers your fourth line with Ylönen on the right and Pizzetta on the left. Gouli, Matheson, Struble, Savard, Harris, Barron, and Montembeault. As per what you're seeing right now, it looks like Gouli is on the left side of defense, but Gouli was on the right side of defense tonight, which is extremely interesting. We're going to talk about it. He had some struggles. It's only normal. There's a couple of left-handed defensemen on this Canadiens team who have played right defense in the last month. Gouli tonight is one, and Jordan Harris is another when he was playing, of course, with Struble. Struble left. Harris also left, but he was playing right. And tonight, Harris was playing back at left because, of course, Barron was in the lineup and they had him paired with him, and Barron is a right-handed defenseman. On to the New Jersey Devils lineup very quickly, if we can. Hischier with Bratt and Toffoli, McLeod with Mercer and Meyer, Lazar with Bastian and Holla, Tierney with Holtz and Willman. Man, do I love Holtz. Marino, Nemec, Hughes, Miller, Ball and Foot, and Dawes for his third straight game in goal. I know we want to talk Montreal Canadiens, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say a quick word on what I saw from the New Jersey Devils. A lot of focus, of course, on Simon Nemec, who was drafted second overall, Craig, and Luke Hughes a couple of years ago, who was drafted fourth overall. Craig, Luke Hughes blew me away tonight. He's unbelievable.
He is. And on the broadcast tonight, watching it, they talked about, the New Jersey Devils losing Ryan Graves to free agency and trading Damon Severson, who ultimately signed a contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets. The reason they weren't too worried about losing those two guys is because of 43 and 17. Now I know Dougie Hamilton's hurt right now. I know Siegenthaler's hurt right now, but the idea is that they were going to get cheaper and they were going to get better. Listen, Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec are going to be real top-notch players. They're already playing 20 minutes a night for the New Jersey Devils. So the New Jersey Devils moving forward in that regard, they looked at it and said, hey, we got good young players. Now, keep in mind, Simon Nemec is the second overall pick, and Luke Hughes was the fourth overall pick. Was he? Yeah, fourth overall, I believe, right? Yeah. So he was fourth. So, you got two high draft picks on the blue line, and that sets you up really.
Owen Power, if I can, Matty Berniers, Mason McTavish, Luke Hughes.
Yeah. So you're set up on the blue line, and Luke Hughes is a stud. Simon Nemec is a stud, and they're only going to get better with the playing time. And coaches are going to play the players that they think can handle the challenges. And Simon Nemec has done that since he came into the lineup. Luke Hughes last year in the playoffs hasn't taken a step back. You talked about Caden Gouli earlier. There's going to be growing pains. There always is for young players, but that's a really good blue line. And I really believe that this team has struggled I mean, injuries are part of it, but the goaltending isn't good enough. The goaltending isn't good enough. And I think that that's an area that has held the New Jersey Devils back this year. I think it's an area that's something that was there an opportunity to improve it in the summer? I mean, we can look at it and say yes, but I think that's an area that Tom Fitzgerald clearly has to upgrade. He has to get, because I think that, Jack Hughes comes back in the lineup, Dougie Hamilton, Siegenthaler. That's a good team. And I think goaltending is subpar. It's subpar. And they said they were going to start the year, with Akira Schmid, and then they had Vanacek. Not good enough. Now Nico Dawes is up there.
Yeah,
their problem is goaltending. So that's where they got to address it. They don't have problems on the blue line. They don't have problems up front with their skill. They have problems in the net.
You talked about Jack Hughes up front. You talked about Dougie Hamilton on the back end. Of course, they are out. Let's take a look at the injuries for the New Jersey Devils. This was a team that was decimated by some injuries. There you have it. Dougie Hamilton, Thomas Nosek, Jonas Segentler, Andre Palat, Jack Hughes, and Brendan Smith. So some significant injuries for them. But at the same time, hey, some significant injuries for the Montreal Canadiens as well. Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook, Josh Anderson, and Christian Dvorak and Tanner Pearson. So both teams were a little beat up. Both teams were decimated. Obviously, Jack Hughes is the big name that's missing in this hockey game tonight. But credit to the Montreal Canadiens, Craig. They part of me is upset, okay, because I have a feeling that they're just going to be in that famous no man's land when all is said and done, right? The 82 games and the 82 points. But those who make a living in hockey and not doing podcasts like myself will tell you that it's important to build a winning culture, and so that guys get better as the season goes on. They get better every year. The team plays better every year. They start to be involved in more competitive games. They play more competitive games later on in the season. What's your school of thought on that? I would imagine, being a former hockey executive yourself, you probably have that same one. But is there a no man's land, or is it a good thing to actually be in what I call no man's land, but NHL executives would call, improving, getting better, knocking on the door?
Yeah, well, we say no man's land, but everybody gets excited about being able to draft high and getting good young players in their lineup. Well, then that's great. It's great to have that opportunity. Then you got to develop them, and development isn't just them being able to grow and mature as NHL players. It's also the environment around them. I mean, let's go back to Jacques Martin. Jacques Martin, who's had a lot of success in his career, is talking about the Ottawa Senators. All those young players, and they have a ton of good young players. What success have they had? They might have a 30-point drop-off from last year. They had 86 points last year. They might be lucky to get to 56 points this year. That's not good for young players. I know when we were in Dallas, and Bob Gainey was our manager, and we made the trade for Joe Nieuwendyk. And it was Jerome McGinley, and we knew Jerome was a real top-notch prospect. Did we think that he would score 600 goals and be a superstar? No, but we knew that we had a really good player there. And Bob made this point. He goes, we have lots of young players here. We have Madonna, we have Hatcher, we have Matvichuk, we have Lagenbrunner, we have Lettinen. We have lots of really good young players. And he goes, we can't just keep going along the path of good young players. We need to bring in some mature players, some good players that can help these players along. That was the essence of the Joe Nieuwendyk trade. We knew we needed another center to play behind Mike Madonna, because Mike was the prize. He was the first overall pick, and that was the thinking was. And then, of course, we added some other players. Guy Carbonell, Craig Ludwig came into our group. We signed Patty Verbeek. We signed Dave Reed. We had some really good, traded for Keane and Scrudland. We ended up having some, but we had lots of good young players. If you think you're going to just keep putting these young players out there and they're going to help you win, you're wrong. You're wrong. They need guidance. They need help. I mean, do you have a dog?
I do not. No, I do not. But my friends do, and I love them.
Okay, so you might get a purebred lab, right? You get a purebred lab. That lab has to be trained. You got to bring that lab home, and you got to train it. You got to the lab has to understand. Okay, here's what I need to learn. And if you don't train the lab is just going to be a purebred lab that's out of control, that doesn't have disciplines. It's the same thing with a hockey player. It's the same thing with a hockey team. You cannot just have young players. You need a mix of players, and certainly older players that can help your younger players. And it's so many different things. Back to Sean Monahan. Sean Monahan has an ability to just remain even keeled, stay in a moment, stay level-headed, and be able to do the things. And everybody looks at that and goes, well, he's not fussed. Why should I be fussed? But when you don't know how you should act. You don't know what you should be doing. So the benefit of having a Sean Monahan, the benefit of having a Claude Giroux, those players around your younger players, it becomes so instrumental in so many different ways. And again, young players are good, and everybody's excited about that. The young players, you got to nurture them. You got to do the same thing with the young players. They're pups. That's what they are. They're really good, and they're going to mature into really good players. But right now they're pups, and those pups need training.
By the way, I don't know if Jack Hughes' father, Luke Hughes' father, and Quinn Hughes' father wants to go into development and work for a team, but the Hughes parents, Jim Hughes and his wife Ellen, let me tell you, did they do a good job with their kids or what? Holy jumping, it's unbelievable.
Well, Jim and Ellen are really good friends of mine, and I worked with Jimmy with the Toronto Maple Leafs when he was a development coach. And Jimmy does a lot of development work in his current role with CAA and the agency. So, you know, Jimmy's really integral to their operation with respect to helping those young players understand what they need to do to develop, encouraging them, supporting them at different times. It's really, and Jimmy's ideally suited for that. And, Jimmy and Ellen, watching the boys grow up in Toronto and watching and they provided those kids opportunity to play. They gave them some guidance and that was important, but they always talk about the ODR. They had the ODR, the outdoor rink. Those kids just went and played. And one of the things that Jimmy and Ellen did was allowed the kids to just go out and play and find their own levels of imagination and creativity on the outdoor rink. We need more of that. We need more people doing that. Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yep. So I'm giving you a little bit of background. They're absolutely wonderful people. I feel honored to call them friends, and they're just wonderful people. They're great parents, but they're also understanding about. And I mean, we're talking about a trio of players in Quinn, Jack, and Luke that are stars in the NHL. There's no question about it. But they're even better people. They're even better people.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Look, I'm going to say this. My boys played soccer growing up, so I spent a lot of time on a soccer field or in the stands watching soccer games, whereas you spent a lot of time on the ice and in the stands and watching hockey games. And I got to tell you, two different sports, but so many programs and so many coaches have coached these kids, and I'm not talking about mine, I'm talking about all of them, to be robotic in their ways. And it seems like most of them play the same. And the ones who spend a lot of time with a relationship with the ball, playing on the street, and do not deviate from that and bring their street football to the field, those are the ones that have something different than the others. Those are the ones that have a special talent. And coaches try to change them, but the ones, the ones that say you're not going to change me, those are the ones that are more special than the others.
They are. We did some things on goaltenders, and today Kevin Weeks and myself did a thing on TSN about the decline of Canadian goaltending, and a big part of it is just the word you use, robotic. Teaching kids technical aspects of the instead of letting them go out. And when you're always teaching technical parts of the game, whether it be football, whether it be skiing, whether it be hockey, you also take the fun out of it for the kids. You take the fun out of it. Like, what 10-year-old wants to go learn about technical aspects of football or technical aspects of goaltending or play this way? Let them go out and play. Let them go play on the sandlot. Let them go and experiment and develop their athleticism. We're not allowing that to happen. Back to Jimmy and Ellen, they and all their friends got to come over and do the same thing. Kids are overcoached at too young an age.
Hallelujah. Once again, I so agree with you. Hey, So what we talked about before when Sean Monahan last year of his contract, and how important it is to keep veterans around. David Savard, this is a young Canadians blue line as well, with the exception of Savard and Matheson, of course. There's a lot of young defensemen there, and there's a lot of young ones that are going to be with this team in the next year or so. We still haven't talked about, Jack Guy, who's down in Laval, Logan Mailloux, who's down in Laval, Lane Hudson, who's with BU, David Reinbacher, who's with Cloten in Switzerland. The fact that Gouli played right defense and they've tried Harris at right defense, this lead you to believe that they're trying to see what they have in the meantime at right defense, or who can convert for a possible trade of David Savard before the deadline?
Yeah, I don't know if trading David Savard ahead of the deadline is the goal here. I mean, David Savard, again, I'll go back to the same thing. You got young defensemen there. I mean, Jaden Struble has played exceptionally well. Jordan Harris is still young. Caden Gouli is still young. You start to look at the scenario. It goes back to what I said about Tommy Abilene and our young defense in Calgary at the time. I don't have any question in my mind. If a team wants to bolster their blue line heading into the playoffs, David Savard to me would be a great addition, and a great addition with respect to, even with a year left on that contract. I don't think the dollars are any problem. He's a big, heavy, hard defender, and the playoffs are about being big, hard defending. That's what they're about. So I don't think there would be any question that lots of teams, in my view, they should be interested in David Savard. If you're a contender, you're not interested in David Savard, and you need to bolster your blue line, tell me why you're not interested in David Savard. I'd like to hear the answer. Now, that being said, you just named 4 defensemen that are not in the lineup for the Montreal Canadiens. Not in the lineup. You got the 6 that played tonight, and you didn't even mention Jonathan Kovacevic. That's 11 defensemen. I can guarantee you this, Tony. All 11 of them are not going to play for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, there's a timing to that. When's Reinbacher ready? Jack Guy's gone down to Laval, and he's really embraced going down there. Logan Mailloux has really had a really nice season there. Lane Hudson's been great at BU. So what's the timing? And again, you can't just thrust all these young defensemen into the lineup. We saw what happened last year with the Montreal Canadiens with all the young defensemen thrust in. So for Kent Hughes, looking at, okay, where are we at? Who can play in different positions? The more information you have on your own players is the more confidence you have in understanding, okay, this player fits here and this is what he can do. And if you're going to, and other teams might say, we want this defenseman, somebody else might want that defenseman, but the better understanding that you have of your own defenseman and what they can do in any situation, now you can say, I need a little bit more if I'm going to make that trade, or, okay, that's fair and everything. So all these things about players being able to play in different spots is a positive for the Montreal Canadiens. They also have 22 picks in the next 2 drafts. 22 picks. So they got 11 defensemen and 22 picks. I've talked about the plethora of prospects they have in the system.
Yeah.
It's great to have 22 picks. It's great to have 11 defensemen. It's great to have a lot of good prospects on your forward shelves in the prospect cupboard. They're not all going to play for the Montreal Canadiens. I can tell you that right now. They all aren't. So the Montreal Canadiens have a wealth of players and draft pick capital that they can use to strengthen the team. But if you think you're going to go and do it with just young guys, you're going to be the Ottawa Senators Redux.
As a guy who was a former general manager in the National Hockey League, put on your GM hat for a second here. I want to ask you a question. I'm curious as to, okay, Justin Barron was in the lineup tonight, and a couple of games ago, Jonathan or Kovacevic was in the lineup. So then Kovacevic was out at one point, then he's in, then he's out, he's in. And they're going back and forth with Barron, which leads you to believe that of all the defensemen that are here, the ones that are probably lower on the totem pole or on the depth chart would be, or probably not in the plans, are Barron and Kovacevic. And then, of course, there's that David Savard contract, which is up at the end of next year. But at the same time, if those are the guys that you might end up dealing because of a numbers game, if they're not playing, you've now lowered their value. So your Kent Hughes, you're looking at that, and in your world, you'd probably like to play them, but in Marty St. Louis' world, he wants to end up playing the guys that he thinks give them the best chance to win the hockey game on that particular night. Does Kent say to Marty, look, I'd rather keep Kovacevic and Barron in the lineup because if we're going to trade them, we're going to get less value by sitting them out. Does this conversation take place?
Always. The coach manager conversation is ongoing. It's daily. It could be numerous times daily. And I don't think that there's any question that Marty understands what Kent is trying to do from a management point of view, and that Kent understands what Marty's trying to do from a playing point of view. And it goes back to what you talked about, Tony. You're trying to evaluate players in different spots. You're trying to understand what you have. You're trying to understand you're trying to understand first what the value is to your own team. You can't until you understand what the value you have to what they have to your own team. It's hard to start to establish value outside your own team. So I think that Marty understands what they're trying to do. Ken understands. We'll take Kovacevic out of the lineup. My apologies. I said Kovacevic. It changes, but Kovacevic is the pronunciation. But you're working through this. You're working. Who knew that Jaden Struble was ready to be so good? But Jaden Struble's 22 years old, and he's much older. He's much older than a rookie defenseman usually is. So I think that when I say they're in lockstep, like I don't think Kent's saying, hey, just play these guys. I think they're saying, okay, I understand what we're trying to do, but I think they're working together. And they're both trying to get to a point where they can fully understand what the value that each of these players brings to their own, that they each bring to the Montreal Canadiens before they're going to move out. And this is just part and parcel of that process. And there's a paradox there, because you're right. Are you lowering the value? Maybe not for one game. If a player has to sit out for 3 weeks, you might be saying, okay, what's happened here? But I think that the way they're doing it right now is something that allows them to do, that allows them to work towards the ultimate goal of really understanding exactly what they have.
Craig will be with us for 2 more minutes. So in the meantime, I will tell you this. Once Craig leaves us tonight, I'm going to be taking your phone calls at 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. Jot down the number. Get ready. We're going to get to your calls. There's so much to talk about. Craig, in the 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you this. Joshua Roy playing his 3rd National Hockey League game. He had 1 shot going into the game tonight. He was averaging over 11 minutes of ice time. Tonight, Joshua Roy scores a goal. It's a counterattack. It's a stretch pass by Armia to Roy, who does the heads-up play and gives it to Sean Monahan. Monahan can go for it himself. He has the presence of mind to say, you know what? I think I can pull it off, and the smart play here will be to go to Joshua Roy. Plus, I know it's the kid, and I know he hasn't scored a goal in the National Hockey League. I want to try and give him one. I have a feeling he's thinking that. He scores a goal. I think Roy probably could have had 3 tonight with a little bit of luck, because he had some real good shots, some real good scoring chances. You've seen this player. You saw him with Canada at the World Juniors. He surprised everyone when no one thought he was going to be a part of that penalty kill, and he was a big part of that penalty kill. Can Joshua Roy, in your opinion, end up being a top 6 in the National Hockey League?
No question in my mind. I have 0 question in my mind. I think he's got elite hockey sense. I think he's got skill, and I think that he can be a top-notch, 2-way, top 6 forward. I watched him all the way back in it's U16 now, Mijatois, with Levi Lausanne. That Levi Lausanne team was amazing. He was part of Team Quebec that won the Canada Games. I've watched Joshua Roy for a long time. And Joshua Roy is a very talented, gifted player. No question in my mind. And I could make the argument that he is amongst the very best prospects they have. And they have a lot of really good prospects. And he's right there with them. I got all the time in the world for Joshua Roy.
A lot of hockey pundits believe or seem to think that the Montreal Canadiens can still use another player or 2 to enter their top 6, that they're stacked on the back end, but they're going to need to go out and get a forward or 2. You just said that you believe that Joshua Roy could end up being a top 6. Would the Canadiens need another one going forward? If he's going to be one, would they need one more?
Well, they have Cole Caulfield. They have Nick Suzuki. You have Joshua Roy. Kirby Dach is hurt. You have Philip Mazar, who made amazing strides this year in Kitchener. He was a prominent player at the World Junior Tournament. I see him being able to do that. We can start to look at other places where they. And yes, and let's not forget about Uri, who's made some really good strides here. So having more rather than less is always a good thing, Tony. But keep in mind that they have a cupboard full of really good prospects, and and Kirby's hurt, and I don't think Kirby, there's any doubt he can be that. Joshua has come up; he might go back to Laval. Who knows? Depending on injury situations. But I think they have lots of really good scoring forwards. Scoring counts. You want more rather than less. And I think that the Montreal Canadiens are going to have an opportunity to add more. There's nothing wrong with having scoring forwards on your third line either.
No, I listen, I'll say goodnight, but you know what I was trying to get at, right?
Yeah, I know what you were trying to get at.
What was I trying to get at? I was trying to see if the Canadiens need Trevor Zegras. That's what I was trying to ask you.
Can I tell you what? Can they use Trevor Zegras? Absolutely. Listen, if you look at what the Anaheim Ducks have, and you look at what the Montreal Canadiens have in terms of prospects, right? You're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere along the line to bolster your team. Trevor Zegras, I don't know if he's available, but if he's available, I can tell you this, Tony. I'm phoning Pat Verbeek every day. I'm phoning Pat Verbeek every day to find out what the cost is for Trevor Zegras. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to find out. Because Trevor Zegras is a difference maker.
Hey, you know what? I agree with you. And I took so much heat last night because everyone on the YouTube chat, Facebook chat, Twitter chat, they're all saying, stay away. For whatever reason, Zegras has put up numbers comparable to Caulfield and Suzuki thus far in his young career. Had one bad season, which was this season, went down with an injury, and all of a sudden it's like, don't touch him. He's a dynamic player. I'm making calls. I'm going to see what it takes.
Okay, let me just say this. I've watched Trevor for a long time, okay? Let me tell you this about Trevor, too. I don't know why people want to get down on players or why they want to get down on Trevor. Trevor not only is a big-time talent, he's a big-time difference maker. Wherever he's played, wherever he's been in the prominent role and on good teams, he has been a frontline difference maker. Let's not forget who the MVP was at the 2021 World Junior Championship. Yeah, that was Trevor Zegras. Don't tell me you don't want Trevor Zegras.
Craig Budden, have a great night. I love you, bud.
Thank you. Love you too. Glad to be back with you in 2024.
I'm even gladder. Thank you so much. There you have it. TSN analyst and director of scouting, Craig Budden. What a guest. I love this guy. Let's bring up the score sheet if we can. Tonight's hockey game, I'll tell you how it all went down. Here we go. And yellow Sammy Juliana, master control. Bring it up. There we go. Uri Slafkowski, 12:46 at the period number one. Cole Caulfield basically bats it out of midair towards Slafkowski. Boom! Goal. Joshua Roy in period number two. It's Armia to Monahan. Monahan waits. He waits. He finds Joshua Roy. Bang, bang play. He taps it home. 2-0. And then Nick Suzuki, late in period number two, picks up a double minor for high sticking. And in a span of a minute and, in the first minute and 38 seconds of the third period, which actually was it 2 goals in 51 seconds? It was Hughes on the power play. And it was Holtz in the power play. I have to tell you this. Luke Hughes' shot went through traffic. Holtz' shot was a laser beam. He's a right-handed shot lined up on the left side, and he just wired it. But Hughes' shot, I wasn't happy with David Savard's effort or lack thereof to clear Meyer from in front of the net. He's got to do better than that. So the Devils tie it at 2, and then with 4:31 left in regulation, it goes Jordan Harris takes a shot. What a great play from Monahan to get it to Harris, and Harris's shot. The goalie should have had it, should have held on, but a rebound comes out, and Monahan slides it to Caulfield, and he's able to tap it in from just a couple of feet. And with that said, why don't we get to our Accent Insurance moment of the game?
Accent Insurance moment of the game.
Tonight, we're going to go with a moment of the game, and not the turning point of the game, and not the game-winning goal of the game, but the moment of the game. It's always a moment of the game, a very historic moment of the game. It's always a moment that every player will always remember, and members of their family and their best friends when they score their very first goal in the National Hockey League. Let's not forget, a lot of these guys, they start playing this game at 4 or 5 years old. They get on skates and they play, and they dream to play in the National Hockey League one day. And once they get there, they'll always remember their first game, and they'll always remember their first goal. Joshua Roy gets his first goal in the National Hockey League. Assists go to Armia and Monahan to give the Montreal Canadiens a 2-0 lead. Joshua Roy is going to remember that one for a long time. And he's also going to remember that when he scored that goal in Jersey, his team that night won a big game by a score of 3-2. The Accent Insurance Solutions moment of the game, Joshua Roy's first goal in the National Hockey League. It's now time to take your calls.
You called. Presented by Playground.
Well, I don't have a timeline on this, but you know what? I could have ended I can end the show in a minute if I want. But you know what? For whatever reason, I feel like going till about 11 o'clock. All right? I feel like going till about 11 o'clock. This is what I want. All right? You, my sick army. You, my sick community, I want you to jump on the phone line right now. I want you to call your friends and say, my God, what a hockey game that was. Let's call Marinaro right now. I want you to pick up the phone and call me. I want you to talk to me about Cole Caulfield. I want you to talk to me about Nick Suzuki, who did not have one of his better games tonight. But you know what? Here's the good news. The Canadiens won despite the fact that he didn't have a very good game. I want you to talk to me about Montembeault. What do you think about tomorrow night? Will the Canadiens go with Jake Allen in goal in Ottawa, or will they go with Caden Primo in goal in Ottawa tomorrow night? What are your thoughts? What kind of game are we going to see tomorrow night? What kind of game do you think we saw tonight? Caulfield, if you were worried before, are you no longer worried now? 3 goals and 3 assists in his last 6 games. Third in the National Hockey League for game-winning goals. Third in the National Hockey League for game-winning goals. Where do you stand on Monahan? Do you keep him here? Trade deadline is Friday, March 8th, if memory serves me well. Is Sean Monahan going to be a member of the Montreal Canadiens past that 3 p.m. Eastern time deadline, or are they going to trade him? What would you do and why? Gouli playing right defense. I thought he struggled tonight, but it's only normal. He's still a young player in the National Hockey League, and then you switch him to right D. But it goes to show you how good Jordan Harris is, maybe better than a lot of us think, because when Harris plays right D, he does it with ease, and it's a real difficult thing to do to end up playing right D when you're a left-handed shot. Harris makes it look easy, a little bit more difficult for Caden Gouli tonight. Sylvain, comment ça va?
Oh, it's I'm doing all right, Tony. Very nice show, Mr. Button. Just lift me up because he's the expert, and I'm getting crazy about Zegras. We've talked about this one, and Tony, this is I really want this to be happening. I mean, I would go and trade Goulet for Zegras. That's my maximum I would go.
Whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot. You know what a lot of people say? A lot of people say that, and my buddy Max Lapierre, who's also a regular collaborator on the Sick podcast after Canadiens games on Tuesday nights, Max Lapierre tweeted out earlier tonight, he said, for those of you who are talking about a potential trade of Zegras for Gouli, Gouli's the type of player that in a big playoff game will shut down a guy like Zegras. But then again, you heard Pierre Maguire yesterday, who said he knows Trevor Zegras like the back of his hand. And Pierre said, would I be interested? Yes. Would I place the phone call? Yes. But I wouldn't go overboard in what I'm giving up. I wouldn't give up the farm. It leads me to believe that he would not give up a Gouli for Zegras. You heard Craig Button tonight. He says he knows Trevor Zegras like the back of his hand, and he believes that Trevor Zegras is not only a very good hockey player, he believes he's a difference maker, and he would call Pat Verbeek every single day about Zegras. So many different opinions.
I'd manage another trade. This is the maximum I would go.
Yeah,
a future D. I mean, they have D, so they're not looking for these. I would go and give. I don't know if they want to have like Caden Primo. I'd give him. I'd give Newhook, and I'd give him the first choice of Calgary next year, this year. So that would be a night. I want Zegras. I mean, it's about time that we as fans get a Kovalev. We talk about a style of Kovalev, a magician with the puck. Imagine with Roy, and all the other players that we have. We're going to be jam-packed for offense, jam-packed in defense. Why not? They're constructing a team that we're going to have not a dynasty, but something very nice for the next 5 to 8 years. We're going to go crazy, Tony. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't give up a first-round pick if you're going to end up going for Zegras in a package. But I have to tell you something, and this is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And I don't know this for a fact, but I mean, based on the data that we have, the facts are the facts. The composition of the Canadians right now, take a look at how many players they have that are former first-round draft picks. Whether another team drafted them in the first round or the Canadians drafted them in the first round. And I'm going off the top of my head here, so I could be wrong, okay? But I believe it's Slafkovsky, obviously first overall by the Canadians. Doc, third overall by Chicago. Suzuki, 13th overall by Vegas. Caulfield, 15th overall by the Habs. Newhook, I think 16th overall by Colorado. I believe Barron was 25th overall by Colorado. I think Matheson was 24th overall by Florida. Who else is there that I'm forgetting here? But anyway, there's
Byron? No.
There's pardon me?
Barron,
I mentioned 25th overall. Okay. So there's a lot of players that the Canadians have who are first round picks, whether they were drafted by the Canadians or they were drafted by another team. And let's not forget, Zegras is a former first round pick, drafted 9th overall. And by the way, today I put together some stats, okay? And it's funny that there are a lot of people who disregard Zegras to Montreal. He's whatever. He's no good, but Caulfield's great. Suzuki's great. Well, Zegras entered the National Hockey League at 19 years old. So did Caulfield. Suzuki entered at 20. Zegras put up 13 points in 24 games, more than a point every other game. Caulfield put up 5 points in 10 games. He put up a point every other game. And once again, Suzuki broke in at 20. When Suzuki broke in at 20 years old, his first season was 41 points in 71 games. It's very good. Caulfield at 20 years old had 43 points in 67 games. Even better.
Was better the first two.
Zegras had 61 points in 75 games. The year after that, he had 65. Now, unfortunately for Zegras, he's having a very bad year this year, and now he got hurt, okay? But is everyone just going to say no to Zegras because he had a very bad he was having a very bad year this year? Because if that's your logic, I will remind you that at one point Cole Caulfield had scored 1 goal in 30 games here under Dominic Ducharme. And then all of a sudden, a coaching change, and Caulfield is on pace to score 46 under Marty St. Louis. And then once again, he started hot this year, and then he got cold, and now he's hot again. And so maybe Marty St. Louis can do for Zegras what Marty St. Louis did for Caulfield the second he got his hands on him. Now, once again,
the reason why Zegras is asking for people are saying, why do Anaheim don't want Zegras anymore? It's on both sides. He's asking out, and well, not saying the people exactly, but he would love to play for Martin St. Louis. That's for sure.
And listen, Sylvain, I'm going to tell you something. This whole thing of why does Anaheim not want Zegras anymore? Okay, sometimes teams no longer want a player, okay? And maybe they have intel, and maybe they're right for not wanting that player. But you know what? Not every team that doesn't want a player gets it right. I mean, Marty St. Louis was undrafted. Nobody wanted him, right? And then he was put on waivers, and then ultimately Tampa took him. But we see this all the time. How many trades did the Canadians make that ended up being good trades? Okay, so all right, Calgary didn't want Monahan anymore. He's a good player, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
first round pick to Monahan and Armia, by the way. So
now we know why they didn't want him. They thought he was injury prone. They thought he was making a lot of money and all that stuff. But there's a lot of teams that don't want players, and they end up being wrong. Now, once again, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. I know this. The last Montreal Canadian forward that pulled me out of my seat with his shiftiness, his quick hands, his stick handling ability, the fact that he would improv, and he would not be a structured player. He would not be a tactical player, and he would play the game of hockey like it was a game of pond hockey. And it might drive coaches crazy, but fans love it. It was Kovalev.
Martin St. Louis is always saying, give me my part, I'll give you yours. So meet me halfway. If he does that with Zegras, we would have a 1 point per game player. He would bring up Suzuki and Caulfield and Doc and Slavkovsky. We would have, and Roy. What? I mean, that's the kind of a team that I want, and you want that. You prefer a 5-4 game than a 2-1 game.
Oh, of course I do. Now, some people will tell you that to win the cup in the playoffs, you have to win with the 2-1 game. I got it. Let's get to the playoffs first, and then we'll talk about how we can win. Sylvain, je vais te dire ça. T'as entendu Jeff Molson plus tôt aujourd'hui dire que, hey, je veux que les gens soient patients avec la reconstruction. On va pas dévier du plan. Il faut être patient. On va laisser aller les choses. On va voir. C'est parfait. It's music to my ears. Basically said, hey, we're not going to deviate from the plan. We're doing a rebuild. We're going to do it the right way. Okay, perfect. I agree with all that. Je vais dire une autre chose, par exemple. Là. Au Centre Bell, là, s'il y a certains matchs cette année là, qu'il y a des sièges vides. Là. Il y a des sièges vides. OK? Ça, je suis sûr, ça ne fait pas plaisir à Jeff Molson. Là. Donc, qu'est-ce que tu peux faire? Durant la reconstruction, si tu peux mettre un gars qui peut manier la rondelle comme un Zegras, un gars qui fait de la magie, là, un gars qui marque des Michigan, là, OK? Ça va faire plaisir à la foule, un foule que tu demandes à être patient encore pendant quelques années. A fan base that you're going to ask still to be patient for a couple of years. You know what? They would love to see a guy like that. They will. Now, once again, please hear me out. I don't want anyone to go on social media to say, Tony Marinaro is crazy. He's willing to give up anything for Zegras. Anything, no. But I'm finding out what it's going to take. I'm placing the phone calls because, you know what? If I think it's worth it, I'm pulling the trigger. Sylvain.
Imagine Zegras in Montreal. Oh, my goodness. Hey, thank you, Tony, to hear me tonight again. And
Sylvain, c'est moi qui te remercie.
Your flavor québécoise. Very nice to hear you.
Merci beaucoup, Sylvain. C'est très apprécié. Merci. Always like talking to Sylvain. Seems like a gentleman. Great show with the return of Portugal. After holidays, this podcast is now sicker than ever, says Stéphane in Quebec City. I tried while I was in Portugal. What can I tell you? I didn't quite have the background and didn't quite have the stable internet and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But you know what? I tried. All right. Okay. Tony, who are your 5 untouchables on this team, including prospects, if you have to make a list? My 5 untouchables on this team. Okay. Suzuki is 1. Caulfield is another. Slavkovsky is another. That's 3. Mayu is 4. Hudson is 5. Those are my 5 untouchables. But there could be others, though. There could be others. 1-888-585-7425 and Yellow Sammy. We heard Pierre Maguire talking about Jacob Fowler. He believes that Jacob Fowler is going to be a very, very good goaltender in the National Hockey League. So you asked me to name another. I can tell you know what? I'd rather not trade Jacob Fowler. I'd rather not trade Kirby Dach either. But, once again, it all depends. What are we talking about here? Huh? Justin, what's going on? Justin, are you there? Going once, going twice, He was just in, and now he is just out. Let's go back to the phone lines at 1-888-585-7425. Unfortunately, it appears like Justin is no longer there. Where are we going exactly? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, who's this?
Hey, Tony. It's Justin. How are
it's
you?
Justin. Yeah, it takes you a little bit longer than others, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. We figured it out, so. How are you, Tony?
Very, very good. How about you?
Great. You know what? Tonight was honestly a good game altogether. I was really satisfied. Josh Waugh getting that first goal, that was awesome. Slav's figuring it out. I listen to your podcast pretty often, so I'm honestly really happy with where that's trending. The one thing that I wanted to talk about, and you know what? Let's put Josh Waugh to the side for a second. I'm happy for him, but at the end of the day, a couple of days ago, I heard you talking about Caulfield needs to start getting to those dirty areas, and I don't know about you, Tony, but on that. It wasn't the prettiest of goals, we know that, but he got to the dirty areas, and now we're starting to see his potential outlook for goals this season boost up. And I think that if he plays a little bit more confident, a little bit stronger on his skates, and decides to go to the front of the net there, I think we're going to see a lot more goals down the stretch here, and I think we're going to see him pick up pretty quickly.
That's a real strong opinion by you tonight. That's a good one because you're right. Cole Caulfield went to an area tonight, which is you get your nose dirty there. And when you go to that area, you know what could happen? You could end up getting slashed in the ankle. You could end up getting slashed in the back of the leg. You could end up taking a cross check to the back of the neck. You could end up taking a cross check to the face sometimes. You could end up getting slapped in the face. You can end up getting a face wash. You can end up getting all of that. It's not pleasant to be there. He decided to go there. And you know what? See, this guy was born with a gift. Guys that score goals, they have a gift. There's a reason why usually they make a lot of money, and a lot more money compared to 90% of the other athletes in the world are the ones who score goals. Because scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in your particular sport. It's the hardest thing to do. Goal scorers, the puck usually follows them around, or they end up going to where the puck is going to be. So Caulfield goes to an area where he thinks the puck is going to be, and once that puck is there, his hands are faster to put it in than anyone else's hands are there to break up the play and clear it out. Good for him.
That's exactly it, Tony. And you know what? At the end of the day, if he ends up putting up 30, 35 goals this year, no one's looking back on the game against New Jersey and saying, hey, look at the way he put that puck in. No. It's a stat. It's a stat that people rely heavily on, and no one's going to be, talking about how he scored. And
okay.
Last thing
I want to bring up something. Okay. I know that Arbor Jackeye is a fan favorite. Okay. I love the guy too. All right. I love him. I love everything he's all about. Okay. At one point I said that it was hard for Jackeye to get in the lineup because the way Struble was playing better than Jackeye played. And that upset some people because their interpretation was, I don't like Jackeye because I'm saying how well Struble was playing. I like Jackeye, and I've watched him in the American Hockey League, and he's a National Hockey League defenseman. He can play in the National Hockey League, and if he would step in and play tomorrow night in Ottawa for the Canadiens, he would not look out of place. But I want to say this. For those whose argument is that they absolutely need the Sheriff because they're going to get beat up and this and that and whatever, how many times did it happen this year that you said, oh man, I wish Jackeye was in line? There was a game where they got roughed up a little bit in Buffalo. Remember that? Got roughed up a little bit. I believe it was in Buffalo. I could be wrong. Was it in Buffalo? Or was it in Pittsburgh? I think it was in Buffalo. You got roughed up a little bit. Okay. But that whole thing that Jackeye needs to look, I'm convinced that Caulfield would feel like he's an inch or two taller with Jackeye in the lineup. Yes. But he's got 3 goals and 3 assists in his last 4 games. Jackeye's not there. Are they getting beat up? Is Suzuki getting beat up? Is Caulfield getting beat up? Is Slavkovsky getting beat up? I have a feeling that when people talk about this, they think the National Hockey League in 2024 is played the same way it was played in 1984 or 1974. The game has evolved, folks. It's not the same. The onus in the National Hockey League now is on youth, speed, skill, and a lot less on hitting, physicality, rough stuff, intimidation, fighting. It's not the same, folks. It's nowhere close. Nowhere close. Thank you, Justin, for your phone call. Said what I had to say.
Thanks, Tony.
Appreciate it. Justin sounds like a good man to me. Are we going to end this thing here? Because time flies when you're having fun. It's already 11 o'clock. One more call. Sammy says one more call. I'm going to give you one more call. Sal. Sal, are you there? Sal, are you there? Sal is gone. We had Sal. He's gone. Now we have Tony from LaSalle. I'm still here, but I will be gone pretty soon. What I do want to do is once again do this. I want to thank Energy Transportation Group for being a partner in this venture, in the Sick Podcast with Marinaro, Talking Habs, Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. We are your one-stop shop for Montreal Canadiens hockey talk. Our collaborators are, in no particular order, Eric Engels, Maxime Lapierre, Mike Johnson, Craig Button, Grant McCagg, Simon the Snake Boisvert, Georges Larac, Philippe Boucher, Nicolas Cloutier. The list goes on and on. Pierre Maguire. We've had Mapper. We've had Charles-Alexis Brisebois. We've had some big-time guests and collaborators. I hope you're enjoying the Habs talk. We strive to give you the best Montreal Canadiens talk with the best Montreal Canadiens collaborators in the world. This is what we're striving for. We hope you enjoyed the show tonight. We want to thank once again Energy Transportation Group for being our partner in this venture. We want to thank Accent Insurance Solutions for being our partner in this venture. We want to thank La Beta TB for being a partner in this venture. And we want to thank Playground for being a partner in this venture. The Montreal Canadiens, on goals by Juraj Slafkovsky, Joshua Roy's first goal in the National Hockey League, and Cole Caulfield, who ends up scoring the game-winning goal with about 4.5 minutes left in regulation, leave New Jersey with a 3-2 win. Samuel Montembeault picks up the win. The Montreal Canadiens will travel to Ottawa, where they visit the Senators and Jacques Martin tomorrow night in the nation's capital. We'll be back tomorrow night to bring you the Sick Podcast again with Marinaro. If you liked it, like it, share with your friends, comment Sick, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's my way of feeling your love, and you know I love you. To you, my Sick Army. To you, my Sick community. Thank you so much. Tell your friends about it. The more, the merrier. That's what we want. For Agnello, Sammy, and Juliana at Master Control, they're Cavallaro. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.